She was an actress with big potential. Then Brittany Murphy died young. Well, now a new HBO Max documentary is looking into the star's troubled final years.
Brittany, please come back.
She's a Scorpio. What else do you need to know?
I'm a double Scorpio.
Double Scorpio.
She evidently collapsed in the bathroom.
Ashton Kutcher has reportedly turned his back on Diddy, and sources claim he's now prepared to come forward with explosive evidence linking Diddy to the tragic and mysterious death of Brittany Murphy. Yes, you heard that right. Ashton, who was once considered to be within Diddy's tight circle, is now allegedly ready to expose everything he knows. Ever since the rumors began circulating that federal authorities might be planning to reopen Brittany Murphy's highly controversial case, things have taken a seriously dark turn for Diddy. The pressure has been mounting and the walls appear to be closing in fast. And now, with Ashton possibly preparing to break his silence, this entire situation has become even more dangerous for Diddy. To make matters worse, whispers from behind the scenes suggest that Ashton could be one of the key players willing to cooperate with investigators. If that's true, this could change everything. We're talking about a massive bombshell that could shake up Hollywood and finally bring long-awaited answers about what really happened to Brittany. So buckle up and stay locked in, because what I'm about to reveal next might just leave you speechless.
A little dip she was having, he came along. And I think that's where her judgment was muddled and she became prey.
Simon said that he was the largest collector of Vermeer, dated Elle Macpherson and Madonna. He said that he had been dying from terminal brain cancer and that he had bought an experimental treatment derived from the fins of sharks. Every single word out of his mouth was a lie.
We all were scared and freaked out. Like, who was this guy?
Once they got married, they were holed up in that house 24/7.
Nobody got close to her.
Last one, guys.
Diddy has been dominating headlines ever since his shocking arrest last September, and the disturbing revelations just keep piling up. As more details emerge, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is far from a minor legal issue. Diddy is facing a long list of extremely serious allegations. So far, the iconic music mogul has been slapped with multiple high-level charges, including human trafficking, racketeering, the transportation of individuals for illicit purposes such as prostitution, and even accusations of forcing people to work under brutal and inhumane conditions. And now, with his highly anticipated trial officially underway this month, the pressure is intensifying like never before. As the courtroom drama unfolds, more and more alleged victims are stepping into the spotlight, bravely sharing their stories. Meanwhile, investigators and the public alike are dissecting every detail of Diddy's past with laser focus, re-examining his relationships, his inner circle, and the countless red flags that may have been ignored for far too long. And unsurprisingly, one name keeps surfacing over and over again: Ashton Kutcher. At first glance, you might not immediately link Ashton Kutcher to Diddy. After all, the two seem to move in slightly different Hollywood circles, and Ashton has kept a relatively clean image over the years. But if you dig a little deeper, the connection between them becomes undeniably significant. According to a report by OK magazine, Ashton and Diddy have been close friends since the early 2000s, forming an unexpected bond that dates back decades. Their friendship reportedly began with a playful confrontation that quickly evolved into regular hangouts. Ashton even opened up about their quirky connection during a 2019 interview on Hot Ones, where he admitted their relationship started in a truly strange way. It all kicked off with Diddy telling him, "Yo, you can't punk me." Ashton, known for his hit Prank Show Punk'd, replied confidently, "I don't know what to tell you. Everybody is on the table." That moment sparked a surprisingly strong friendship, with the two even bonding over football and spending time together regularly. But in light of the serious criminal allegations now swirling around Diddy, the public is beginning to cast a much more skeptical eye on the people who stood by him for so long. Ashton, once seen as just a fun-loving prankster and tech investor, is now being examined for his proximity to someone facing some of the most disturbing accusations in the entertainment industry. And things get even more complicated when you consider the whispers that have linked both Diddy and Ashton to one of the most heartbreaking mysteries in Hollywood history: the tragic and unexpected death of Brittany Murphy. Brittany's sudden passing in 2009 stunned the world and left the entire industry in mourning. She was only 32 years old when her life was cut short, and more than a decade decade later, people are still struggling to make sense of it. According to official reports, Brittany collapsed in the bathroom of the Los Angeles home she shared with her husband, Simon Monjack, and her mother, Sharon Murphy. Things quickly took a turn for the worse, and it was Sharon who eventually made the desperate 911 call. Brittany was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but despite their efforts, doctors were unable to save her. Her death shocked fans everywhere, and to this day, there are still countless questions surrounding the true circumstances of her final moments.
Fire Department 97, what's the address of the emergency?
1895 Rising Glen Road.
What's the phone number you're calling from? Tell me exactly what happened.
Oh, somebody's passed out.
Somebody what?
My daughter's passed out. They're doing mouth to mouth. Please get here quick,
okay.
please.
Okay. All right, we're going to. How old is your daughter?
She's 30. Please hurry.
She's 30?
The official explanation given at the time of Brittany Murphy's death was that she passed away from pneumonia, but let's be honest, ever since that conclusion was announced, it never truly sat well with many people. Friends of Brittany later came forward with unsettling claims, saying she had confided in them shortly before her passing that she felt like she was being watched constantly. Even more chilling, Brittany reportedly suspected that someone was intentionally poisoning her. Over time, and as if that wasn't already spine-tingling, the disturbing similarities between her death and that of Kim Porter, Diddy's ex and the mother of 3 of his children, have only intensified public suspicion. Like Brittany, Kim Porter also allegedly expressed deep fear for her safety in the weeks before her untimely death in 2018. Friends and close confidants have revealed that Kim was frightened and believed she was in danger. Then, just like Brittany, she suddenly passed away, and once again, the cause of death was ruled as lobar pneumonia, the same exact diagnosis. It's written, word for word, on both of their autopsy reports. Now tell me, are we really supposed to believe that 2 relatively young, seemingly healthy women just happened to die from the same rare form of pneumonia while both fearing for their lives and possibly preparing to expose powerful figures? Because to a growing number of people, that's just too bizarre to write off as coincidence. It gets even more suspicious when you consider reports that Kim Porter was allegedly working on a tell-all memoir. She was rumored to be ready to spill massive secrets about Diddy, possibly even cooperating with federal investigators, and then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone under deeply mysterious circumstances. Things don't get any less strange when you look at Brittany Murphy's husband, Simon Monjack. Right after her death, he reportedly pushed hard against the idea of an autopsy, which instantly raised red flags. While he legally didn't have the power to block it, his resistance still made people uneasy. The coroner ultimately moved forward, and later ruled Brittany's death as accidental, attributing it to pneumonia, anemia, and the presence of multiple medications in her system. But even with that conclusion, there was no real sense of closure, especially since Simon himself died just 5 months later, and unbelievably, his death was also attributed to pneumonia and anemia in the same house. But hold on, it gets even more bizarre. According to ABC News, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office initially refused to disclose which substances were found in Brittany's system, fueling an avalanche of conspiracy theories and suspicion. Simon, in an effort to control the narrative, gave an interview with People magazine where he downplayed everything. He insisted that Brittany had only taken a few over-the-counter meds, herbal supplements, menstrual pain relievers, and some cough syrup. According to him, there was absolutely nothing dangerous in her system, and certainly nothing that could have caused her heart to race out of control. But fans weren't convinced. Something just didn't add up, especially when Sharon Murphy, Brittany's mother, backed Simon's claims, insisting that Brittany never used drugs or drank alcohol. In fact, Sharon initially theorized that her daughter may have died due to an undiagnosed heart condition. Yet the most disturbing part of all of this remains Brittany's own words. According to multiple sources, she had repeatedly told friends in the weeks leading up to her death that she believed she was being poisoned. Yes, poisoned. She didn't just feel sick, she believed someone was deliberately trying to take her out, and she didn't stop there. Brittany reportedly became increasingly paranoid, telling friends she was being watched, followed, and targeted by powerful people with sinister motives. She even took drastic security measures in her final months, installing fingerprint entry locks and surveillance cameras throughout her home. That's not something someone does unless they are genuinely terrified. Then came the infamous mold theory. After Brittany's death, rumors started circulating that her Hollywood Hills home might have been infested with toxic black mold. Suddenly, both Simon and Sharon claimed that mold could have been the cause of death for both Brittany and Simon. But when authorities requested permission to test the home for mold, both of them said no. Why would they refuse if they truly believed mold was the culprit? That refusal made zero sense and only deepened the mystery. And to top it off, renowned pathologist Dr. Richard Shepard later debunked the mold theory altogether, explaining that there was no fungal presence in Brittany's lungs or bloodstream. In other words, that explanation was completely entirely off the table. However, Brittany's deep-seated fear of being poisoned, that has never been fully dismissed. In fact, it's the one theory that continues to haunt those trying to understand what really happened. Friends say she became so scared in her final weeks that she would avoid certain foods and drinks, convinced someone was trying to harm her through them. She was genuinely frightened of what, or who, might be behind her mysterious illness, and she strongly believed that she was being targeted by powerful forces in Hollywood. And then there's Simon, the ever-present controversial figure at the center of this tragedy. From the beginning, he gave off all the wrong signals. He was significantly older than Brittany, and their relationship was surrounded by confusion and concern. They first met when Brittany was just 17, and even back then, Simon had a reputation that made many of her friends uneasy. Accusations of fraud, manipulation, and outright exploitation followed him everywhere. Many people in Brittany's inner circle believed he was taking advantage of her vulnerability, and in hindsight, it's hard not to believe they may have been right all along.
Now the HBO documentary, What Happened, Brittany Murphy, alleges Monjack was a con artist and contributed to her death. Brittany's friend, actress Kathy Najimy, appears in the documentary.
During a little dip she was having, he came along. And I think that's where her judgment was muddled and she became prey. We all were scared and freaked out. Like, who was this guy?
And there's this shocking claim.
Simon said that he dated Elle Macpherson and Madonna. He said that he had been dying from terminal brain cancer and that he had bought an experimental treatment derived from the fins of sharks. Every single word out of his mouth was a lie.
Their relationship wasn't just unconventional, it was strange, isolating, and some say dangerously toxic. And we can't ignore the eerie fact that Simon Monjack died only 5 months after Brittany in the exact same house under nearly identical circumstances. Once again, the cause of death was listed as pneumonia and anemia. Come on now, this isn't just tragic coincidence. This is a red flag the size of Hollywood Boulevard. From the secrecy and paranoia to the matching causes of death, everything about this situation screams that something far more sinister was happening behind closed doors. This wasn't just an unfortunate accident. It has all the markings of something dark, something hidden. Now stop and really think for a moment. What are the odds that two relatively young, physically active adults living in the same home would both drop dead within months of each other from the exact same rare combination of conditions? That's not just improbable, it's disturbingly suspicious. And when the so-called mold theory got tossed into the mix, only to be quickly shut down by investigators, that's when this story shifted from bizarre to downright haunting. Years later, Brittany's biological father, Angelo Bertolotti, still wasn't convinced by the official story. In fact, he didn't believe a word of it. Refusing to accept the coroner's findings, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He hired a private toxicology lab to conduct a more thorough analysis, and what they found was bone-chilling. The lab results revealed extremely high levels of heavy metals in Brittany's hair, chemicals typically found in rat poison and insecticides. Angelo publicly declared that he believed his daughter had been murdered. So why didn't the original autopsy uncover this? Why wasn't any of it tested for? Well, here's the kicker. The coroner's office reportedly didn't test for poisoning at all. Not because they ruled it out, but because no one suggested it. And that's wild, considering Brittany literally told multiple people she feared she was being poisoned. She was pleading to be taken seriously. And yet somehow, her fears were dismissed. And now throw this into the mix. Sharon Murphy, Brittany's mother, and Simon Monjack, her husband, both actively resisted further investigations. They blocked requests, refused toxicology follow-ups, and even obstructed attempts to test the house for toxins. That doesn't just raise eyebrows, it blows the roof off the place. People began whispering that Sharon's behavior after Brittany's death didn't sit right, and then the rumors started snowballing. There were whispers that Sharon and Simon had gotten way too close after Brittany passed, uncomfortably close. And when Simon suddenly died, Sharon immediately sold the home and dropped the mold theory like it never existed. No public calls for justice, no pressuring authorities for answers, just silence and a quick exit. I mean, seriously, if your daughter died under such bizarre and disturbing circumstances, wouldn't you be demanding answers from every corner of the earth? Wouldn't you be pounding on the doors of every lab, every detective, every journalist to uncover the truth? But that's where the story takes a turn, and where the Hollywood tea starts boiling over. Some fans believe that Sharon and Simon were hiding something major, but others have an even more explosive theory, that Brittany had had become a target of some very powerful enemies. According to these claims, Brittany had been blacklisted in Hollywood. Why? Because she allegedly refused to play along with the darker side of the industry, the same one tied to Diddy's now infamous secret parties. Yes, those parties. So how exactly does Brittany connect to all this? Let's rewind the clock. In 2002, Brittany Murphy and Ashton Kutcher had a short but intense romance after starring in Just Married. Rumors swirled that the two were engaged. They were even spotted wearing matching rings. But just 5 months later, it was over. Why? Allegedly, Ashton cheated on Brittany with none other than Demi Moore. And guess what? Demi was also reportedly a regular guest at Diddy's wild parties. The timeline is fishy to say the least. Ashton publicly debuted his relationship with Demi right after he split with Brittany. That's not just shady, that's practically a spotlight. But hold on, it gets even darker. New rumors have surfaced claiming that Brittany may have uncovered damaging information about what really went down at Diddy's gatherings. Some say she got her hands on incriminating evidence involving both Diddy and Ashton. There are even whispers that anonymous insiders have already taken this explosive info straight to federal authorities. Could it be that Brittany knew too much? Is it possible she was on the verge of exposing something that powerful people didn't want revealed? And if so, was she silenced before she had the chance to speak? This rabbit hole runs deep, and it raises more questions than answers. If you've been following this case closely, you already know there's way more to it than what the headlines originally reported. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Brittany Murphy didn't just fade away quietly. Her story may have been buried, but the truth refuses to stay hidden. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you buying the official story, or do you believe there's a much darker truth behind Brittany's tragic end? And be sure to check out our other videos to stay caught up on all the latest twists, theories, and breaking developments in this jaw-dropping Hollywood saga.